My personal belief is that if we were all contributing whatever is inside of us, we all have a special gift to give. And if we were all creating that puzzle piece and putting it into the super puzzles that I call collaborations, we would be living on a planet that was full of health, wealth, and peace. And the fact that we see too much chaos and too many crazy things going on just tells me that there's not enough people who have created that puzzle piece to put into the framework. So that's what we do, is we have kind of a framework that we come to the table with in a community, in a business, in a school or educational setting. And then we go and look for small business owners in that particular area who can all bring a piece of the puzzle and plug into that framework.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Chuck Anderson here. This is our show that's all about collaboration and partnerships. And today I'm joined by another really awesome guest. Today we have with us Sheyenne Kreamer, and she is a coach and a consultant that works with businesses, big and small and nonprofits, to help them to grow their business, increase their productivity, and their overall wellness. And of course, Sheyenne, that's the bio portion of the intro. But first of all, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Chuck. I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. So that's about as much of your story as I'm going to tell, because I think that the story comes better from you. So a great place to start is, how about if you introduce yourself to our audience, who you are, what you do, and we will take it from there.
Sure. I am Sheyenne Kreamer, and I actually have two different companies. We call ourselves Community and Economic Development Specialists. And what's kind of interesting about us is that my husband and I 3 years ago decided to abandon normal life, and we are full-time RVers. So we can be found most any place in the country on any given day, although I must admit, during the colder months, you can find us in Florida. So that's where we're hanging out right now. But the reason we went into the RV was because of our desire to be building collaboration teams all over the country. And it's just a whole lot easier if you can go to a location, be able to find people in that location that you can bring together and get them starting to work on a project, and not have to keep looking over your shoulder to see what's going on back home, because home is where we park it. So that's kind of the big picture of what we do. We are mostly bringing together small business owners, but there are some other interested individuals that get involved. And we like to say we're building teams to create more health, more prosperity, and more peace in our communities. How's that for an intro?
Well, that is a great intro on so many levels. First of all, we could all use that what you just said, that peace in our business and our lives, because our businesses, in a lot of cases, especially small business entrepreneurs, it's an extension of our lives. It's an expression of who we are a lot of the time. And so, and many of us as entrepreneurs are living our lives through our businesses. So you got to have the peace and tranquility through that whole thing as well, and the wellness, which sometimes takes a back seat to the business. So, but the first thing I want to mention is, and I didn't realize this about you being full-time RVer, because you're literally living my dream. And so we're big time into RVing as well, but we really have to plan ahead. We're not full-timers. We would really love to do exactly what you're doing, is, take our kids on the road, pack them all in an RV, and just wherever we lay our hat is our home. And so you're living the dream. And so I'll definitely be paying attention to your stories with all of that and inspiring that way. And that's the wonderful thing about business. When you have things set up in such a way, and especially with collaborations and partnerships that make things easier than doing everything yourself, then it opens yourself up to an opportunity like being a full-time RVer, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It's all about leveraging your time, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially when you're on the road traveling, you want to focus on that and not have to, oh, I really need to get to the destination because I need to plug into the internet and I really need to get this work done. And you're missing all the fun stuff about the RVing. So good for you for taking that on and living the lifestyle that, certainly I do. I was going to say so many people. I don't know if other people want that dream, but it's certainly mine. So that's gotcha. Great. So Sheyenne, on this show, it's all about collaboration, partnerships, and I know that's something that's really close to you. And definitely when we see your banner there just behind your head where it says "We Care Partnerships," I mean that partnerships, collaboration, all of that, it really implies working together to achieve a common goal. So I know that this is something that's close to you. At a high level, and we can get into some stories here in a moment. How has partnering and collaborating with others impacted you and your business?
Well, it really is the heart and soul of our business. We like to say we're putting heart and soul back into business, back into education, back into our communities. And so that is the whole structure our business is designed around, because we like to say that we've built kind of like a framework for a super puzzle. And, my personal belief is that if we were all contributing whatever is inside of us, we all have a special gift to give. And if we were all creating that puzzle piece and putting it into the super puzzles that I call collaborations, we would be living on a planet that was full of health, wealth, and peace. And the fact that we see too much chaos and too many crazy things going on just tells me that there's not enough people who have created that puzzle piece to put into the framework. So that's what we do, is we have kind of a framework that we come to the table with in a community, in a business, in a school or educational setting. And then we go and look for small business owners in that particular area who can all bring a piece of the puzzle and plug into that framework. So that's the very essence of our work. That's who we are, because we kind of bring the core, kind of bring the framework, but then we plug in the other business owners to be able to create a very special and unique solution for whatever it is we're working on.
Wow, that's fantastic. And, I love what you said there about bringing all the pieces of the puzzle together and connecting them. And I think there's a lot of power, especially as being the connector, to kind of bring in all of these pieces. And who knows, maybe we can be one of those pieces at one point as well. You never, ever know what comes into your world and who needs what. And that's why we love doing things like this, is just connecting with people without that expectation. And really, you never know what opportunities come from that. So that's, I love everything, that you said there. And, of course, we want to dive deeper into partnerships and collaboration. I love how you are helping connect people with the pieces of the puzzle that they need. Where did it all start for you in terms of your approach to collaborating and partnering and connecting with others? Is it something you always found natural, or was there a moment in your business or personal life where you really realized that, doing it myself gets me this, working and collaborating with others gets me so much more? So was it natural for you, or was there a moment where the light bulb sort of went on and said, this is the way we need to approach this?
Well, believe it or not, it really came from my training in corporate America before I became an entrepreneur. Because in corporate America, we were trained in how to create problem-solving teams, because the belief was that the people who were closest to the problem were likely the ones who knew the most about the root cause and how to solve the problem. So it took me quite a number of years in business, though, before I started to catch on to the idea that, oh my God, that same method that we used in corporate could be used in the community to be able to get much more spectacular results. And, it's really been just in the last 2 years I would say, that we started looking into the community and saying, okay, so let's take a group of people and start trying to figure out where their their passion is. Where do they get excited about helping to create new solutions? And let's see if we can train them in that problem solving methodology, because that's what I love to do, is lead and facilitate that problem solving, because it's just like the mastermind concept, right? When you bring people together into a mastermind and get them brainstorming about what's really going on and how could we create a unique solution, now you can get solutions instead of Band-Aids. And that's what I get excited about.
That's really awesome. And, I love what you said there about, bringing the team together, getting everyone's input, and the people closest to the problem that they're trying to solve to bring forward the possible solutions, collaborate together, mastermind, and come up with that, rather than the solutions being dictated from above. Hopefully it works. Maybe it doesn't. But, with my own period of time in the corporate space, I've seen both. Where you've got the dictator, not dictatorship necessarily, but the orders coming from above, go and do it this way. But so much more effective when you have a team or a group of people all bringing their ideas together and hopefully taking the best of each one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the creative ideas that pop out of those situations and then start building on each other. I mean, when you can get into a true brainstorming process with a group of people that's not, judging or trying to say, we can't do that, wasn't invented here. You never heard that in corporate, right? No. When you can get that free flow of ideas going, things just start to get really creative, and it's so much fun. I just love it.
Yeah. Well, your excitement and enthusiasm definitely shows for all of this. And I think it really, that's a component that really helps to drive any idea forward, is taking that passion and that excitement for it and then getting that idea out there. And this is so needed, because I know in our audience and so many entrepreneurs that I've met over the last 25 years is, that struggle. An idea that starts as an idea, and I think most people start by exploring it on their own. And, being a chronic do-it-yourselfer myself, I actually had to train myself to collaborate. And so it wasn't till much later where that light bulb went on and said, you know what, this is so much easier if I just work with others. And again, coming back to your analogy of the puzzle and getting all the puzzle pieces, so much easier when you just go looking for that versus I must do everything myself. I must maintain control of everything and keep all the percentage, all the equity, all of that, for myself. So 100% of zero is still zero.
Yes.
So I love this. So I love your origin story. And one of the reasons we ask that is that, our audience, they're learning, right? Some people are natural collaborators and other people are chronic do-it-yourselfers like me who, really need that extra little push and, that encouragement. So, I love, you sharing your origin story of where that comes from, because I do find that really does help inspire our audience. So let's shift gears a little bit. And so, again, you're involved in so many different, partnerships and collaborations through the work that you do. Can you think of a time or maybe a partnership or collaboration that, was the most impactful or inspirational in your business that, maybe would really help our listeners with? And so anything come to mind?
Well, I think I mentioned that some of the community-based type work we're doing now is actually a fairly new initiative. But last summer, we got really excited because we were hosted by a couple in Western North Carolina, and they had a group that came together of about 40 people, and some of them were in business, some of them weren't, but they were people that were just saying, if things are to change, maybe it's up to us. Maybe we need to be more involved in changing some of the things that we don't like this system and that system and some of the things that we're seeing out here. And so this couple brought my husband and I to kind of lead and facilitate this group and get them to break up into groups according to what they got really passionate about. And we ended up with a group that was interested in education, one that was interested in health and wellness, one that was interested in, governing issues. I mean, there were just all these different special interest teams that came out of this 40-person group. And as they broke up into those teams and started brainstorming about what could they do to be the change that they wanted to see, that was really awesome to watch. And this couple, we're not in North Carolina, but they still are. And they've got those teams meeting every month. Some of them are meeting every week. And they're starting to gain some ground in terms of being able to make some differences in their community. That just makes me so happy.
So any specific results or really powerful results that you have seen come about either through your own projects or the people that you know of where this collaboration has created such a great impact?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the biggest impacts that I ever saw was I did bring a group of small business owners together in Raleigh, North Carolina a few years back. And our purpose was to create a teen entrepreneur camp for a bunch of young people who were in probation, they were in foster care, some were in homeless shelters. These were some of the young people who really, really had some challenges going on. And so by bringing these small business owners together to be mentors and to also put them through kind of an apprenticeship where they got to be hands-on, they did their own marketing, they did their own selling, they did a cookout where they had to go buy the food themselves, they cooked it all themselves, they handled all the money. And, these kids who were basically being written off as they'll never amount to anything, they did a fantastic job through this whole program with the business mentors around them and they all got to take home the money they made. So that was one of the early successes that we had with this kind of small business collaboration. And it was phenomenal because these kids started out not really trusting us. They thought the government sent us. They didn't want anything to do with us. And by the end of it, they were so excited and we all got hugs as we ended the program. So that was awesome.
Of course you got hugs, especially with something so impactful as that. And I think it's so powerful. And I love the fact that this was really having a positive impact on, young people, because I think that just has an enormous ripple effect. Because just imagine as those young people grow into adults and they follow their dreams and start their businesses or do whatever it is they're going to do. And this experience that they had with you shapes them in a way where hopefully that's impacting others that they are coming in contact with as well. So, an impact, you got the hugs from that, but I'm sure if you got hugs from everyone that impacted, that'd be a lot of hugs. So that's incredible. Well, I love that story. And one thing that happens, and we get a lot of questions from our audience as well, because we share so many stories about how collaborations make a huge difference in businesses, but also communities and personal lives as well. And then the natural question is, okay, got it. I shouldn't be doing this myself. And I really want to go and look for someone to collaborate with, partnership with. And so the natural next question people have is, where do I go looking for someone to partner with, someone to collaborate with? I have this idea that I want to do, but I don't know who I could do it with. So what's your advice to someone who is looking to collaborate with someone? Where do they look?
Wow. Well, there are a lot of special interest groups online these days, whether you look in meetups or you look in Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, there's a lot of special interest groups. And if you can find one that kind of matches a little bit even with whatever vision is running around in your head, that's usually a really good place to start. And then, networking in general, oh my goodness, there are so many ways. You and I were discussing earlier, there are so many ways to network with other people in business online these days, and lots of them are free. There's no excuse. I mean, that was the silver lining of the pandemic was, I now have a network that goes all over the US, all over Canada, into Australia, into Africa. I didn't have that 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it's an interesting and I would say positive side effect of the pandemic is that it has brought many people together in a virtual world in a way that maybe we were already on that track, but it certainly got accelerated. We see virtual events exploding. We see consulting, where our old paradigm might have been, I need to jump on an airplane and I need to travel to a location and work with someone in a physical location. But then it's interesting what happens when suddenly that's taken off the table. And it's like, okay, fine. Out of necessity, we'll only do it virtually, but we'll go back to the way we're doing it before. And it's so interesting how now with things, opening up here and there and getting better all the time, hopefully, then, how so many people are realizing, what, this virtual way of doing things is working. Let's do more of it.
Yeah. It's a good thing. And it makes it easier to find the people that you would like to connect with. It just does. I mean, I'm loving it. It's so much easier to find the right people to do some things with. And again, so much of it is free. Google is your friend. Ask questions into Google. It will tell you all kinds of things in terms of where you can hook up and meet other people of like mind.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons that I do this show, because a byproduct of doing this show is I get to meet so many amazing people like yourself, where we get to have conversations in a way that we wouldn't normally do. And we get a chance to deep dive into some of the amazing things that you're doing where, in casual conversation, you don't always get to go there. So I appreciate you letting me ask those questions about your collaborations and your partnerships and the work that you do. And I love the impact, especially with young people. I mean, I think that is just so incredibly powerful and what the world needs, quite frankly. So thank you for that. And as a personal growth enthusiast, I always like to have a part of our show which helps people with resources that they can learn from. So a couple of questions I want to ask you around that, and the first one being, who are some of your the leaders or mentors or authors or whatever that who do you look for? Who's been the most impactful in your journey in terms of a place to learn from?
Sure. Well, I know in my early days in getting into entrepreneurial stuff, it was definitely the Robert Kiyosaki type series of books. I love that. I got to spend many years ago, a weekend with a gentleman named Bob Proctor, who just passed away last week. Mm-hmm. And, he was so impactful on me in terms of helping me to really be able to just open my heart to be able to, reach out and communicate with people in a slightly different way. And then more recently, a gentleman named T.R. Garland that I've been working with, who has been an amazing coach just in terms of being able to help me hone my own messaging, because his organization's called Change Makers Worldwide. And, that's who I am. I'm all about being a change maker, and just being able to find ways to connect with other change makers is a huge, huge advantage.
Wow. I love all three of those. And I've met them all, and they've all been impactful to me as well. I had the great fortune of meeting TR a couple of years ago at a conference in San Diego. And we just hit it off instantly. I mean, such energy. He's so easy to talk to. Amazing guy, and amazing family. Yes. Right. And so his daughter is going to be a superstar. Mm-hmm. Right. She is so powerful. And then Kiyosaki, I had the good fortune of speaking at some of the Rich Dad events here in Canada. And so got a chance to work with him a little bit. And then Bob Proctor, yeah, sad news that he's gone, but I mean, what a legacy this man has left. And so it will be impossible to erase him from history, and his work will live on. And any opportunity to watch a video, listen to an audio, or read a book by Bob Proctor, I think is definitely time well spent, for sure. So thank you for sharing all three of those names, because those are, three fantastic gentlemen in their own respect, in their own areas. And so so the next thing I like to leave people is with, a book or two that they should go out and read, because I think, there's so much information in books, whether it be audiobooks or books that you read or whatever, where there's so much knowledge that has been, again, recorded, and their intent is to help us to grow whatever we're doing in our businesses and our personal lives. What book would you recommend that our listeners, it's a must read for them?
Well, and this is one I only stumbled onto a year ago. I didn't even know it existed. Everybody hears Napoleon Hill and they think about Think and Grow Rich, of course. Everybody, that's a fabulous book. But the one that I didn't know existed is called Outwitting the Devil. And that is been one of the most mind-blowing. To me, that book should be read before you read Think and Grow Rich, because it almost sets the stage for Think and Grow Rich and helps you to understand how there's so many things that we're exposed to right from the time when we enter school. That's just, they use the term drifting. It's like we become drifters. We don't have a purpose. We haven't got a focus. We haven't got a mission. And there's very little out here that encourages to do that. So in terms of personal development, I mean, I'm with you. Personal development is so important. And just getting that picture from that book in terms of how our society it doesn't get us focused there. And it needs to. So
that's an excellent recommendation. I don't think I've ever heard that one before. So we'll definitely put a link down in our show notes for everyone to go check that out. I know I'm going to check it out, because even though I have read Think and Grow Rich numerous times, I have no idea how, I discovered that book in the mid 90s, and it's numerous. I don't know how many. And then I have his larger textbook called Laws of Success, which takes some doing to get through. It's a very, 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 very long book.
Yes.
But yes. I love this suggestion here, and I'm going to definitely check that out, because I mean, very impactful just with the stuff of his that I've come across so far. So I think that's a great suggestion. And so that's what I love about asking the question, is because, even though that I've read a lot of books and, been doing this, almost 30 years, there's still ideas that I have not come across. And I firmly believe we're never done learning. We're never done learning. I know, and I'm sure Bob Proctor was reading. I know he reads Think and Grow Rich constantly. I mean, his life work to study it, but I'm sure he was reading something else as well. He was a lifelong learner. And so that's one of the key takeaways that I take from his legacy is, keep studying, keep learning, keep growing, and share what you learned. Yes. So I appreciate you sharing all of that. And, I think those are really, really powerful things. So, to wrap up here today, a couple things, tell the folks a little bit more about where they can find you and the work that you do, and maybe how you can help.
Sure. Definitely. I always encourage people. I spend a lot of time in LinkedIn these days, so I always encourage people to look me up there. And yes, my banner back here, wecare-partnerships.com. That's where we have kind of laid out the whole framework, as I like to talk about, and how we're putting teams together to do things in the community. And there is one place that people can go and download a free guide. It's a quick start guide. If somebody is like, man, I really think I do want to try to figure out how to find some of those collaborators and maybe start to put together some kind of a problem solving team, they can go to getmyguide.info. And they'll be able to get the free download of that. So getmyguide.info, free download, quick start guide on how to start your own problem solving team.
Excellent. And we'll have a link to that somewhere around this video and in the show notes for the podcast episode. And so you can click that, and that will take you directly to where you can get that download. So Sheyenne, thank you so much for, sharing your stories and sharing what you do. And on a personal note, for the work that you do, especially, the positive impact that that's making in the world, and, keep doing that. And the inspiration of living the RV lifestyle. I mean, that is just so cool. And I can't wait to be doing that myself. So, on a final note, if we were going to leave our audience with just one final parting words of advice to go out and live their lives by today, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's easy. We consider and look at all the things that are wrong all around us, but we got to stop waiting for things outside of ourselves to create the change. Because believe it or not, you are the miracle we're all waiting for.
Well said, and gave me shivers. So please, if you've got an idea, go and do it. Stand up, take that first action. And if you don't know how to do it, find someone to collaborate with, because things are so much easier when you work with others than doing it all yourself. And, take it from me, a reforming control freak, it is so much easier when you just collaborate with others. So Sheyenne, thank you. And to our audience, thank you so much for being our audience today and listening in. Hope this was impactful for you, and we will see you on the next episode.